Hi, and thank you for joining me for this, I'd say, all levels class. The sequence is based around a Hatha class, but I'd say anybody that practices Yin would also benefit from this class because we will be going at a slightly slower pace. If you tend to go towards fast-paced classes that get you like really hot and sweaty, then just give this one a go and see how you feel, because it's a completely different animal altogether from, say, an Ashtanga class or something like that. Okay, so just a quick, I'd say, kind of disclaimer. If you experience any pain, pins and needles, like tightness that's uncomfortable, then please remove yourself from the posture safely and come into any asana that you feel comfortable in. It could be a child's pose, it could just be sitting on your feet like this, or it could just be lying in a shavasana type pose, like corpse pose, just on your back with your hands out. Come into any pose that you feel comfortable in. If it does start to get uncomfortable, this is your practice, not mine, okay? The practice that you see me doing is my practice, but I want you to be doing your practice. I'm just a kind of a blueprint or a kind of an idea, but I want you to build your frame around it, okay? So I think that's enough talking. We're just going to get straight into the class. So the first thing I want you to do is come onto come onto all fours in a tabletop position. So your wrists are directly below your shoulders. Your knees are directly below your hips. Your knees are about hip width apart. I always struggle with that. And your hands are, you're trying to want to make sure your fingers are evenly spaced apart. And there is some of the weight that is on the wrists is actually being taken up by the fingers as well. So I want you to make sure that your fingertips are quite firmly grounded into the mat or into the ground, creating this rooted, very grounding feeling. And the same with the pads or the tops of your feet. I want you to make sure, and you might have to even point the toes a little bit to get all of the top of your feet to touch the mat. But I want you to have a go at that and imagine that there are roots coming down from each finger and roots coming down from each toe into the earth, and just visualize this for me now very quickly, just to connect the mind to the space and get that groundedness that we need, because this practice is going to be one that is nice and light in the heart and soul, so we need to make sure there's some groundedness as well to balance that out. So once you're in your tabletop position and you feel comfortable in it, I want you to take one full breath, and then I want you to inhale and start to lift the tailbone up. At the same time, lift the head up and arch the back. And then exhale, I want you to lift the back, the middle of the back up, tuck the tailbone under and around the spine quite a bit for me. And then the inhale, arch the back, aim the tailbone towards the ceiling behind you, and lift the head up. And then work through a few of these cat-cow just in your own time, your own breath. Everybody's breath is a little bit different. Everybody has a different pace, a different rhythm, a different cycle that they follow. No two breaths are ever the same in our body, nor are they the same in other people's body. So although breath is crucial in yoga, it's different for everybody. Make sure that your breaths are nice and full, and that you're breathing into any places that are tight or have a bit of tension in them. But this just opens the spine and awakens it. Lets us know that we're going to be practicing. Okay, when you've worked through a few of those cat-cow, just one at a time, just take the wrists off the mat and just give them a quick circle, because there is quite a lot of weight on the wrists during this time. And swap over and do the left, or do the right second, whichever one's comfortable for you. And then readjust the wrists and the placement of the hands. And then I want you to tuck the toes. I want you to lift the knees whilst also pushing the mat away from you, and you'll see what I mean when I do it. I'm going to be lifting my knees off the mat, pushing the mat away from me, and then tucking my head in between my shoulders at the same time and lifting my tailbone, so while I was engaging my abdominal muscles. And then you might have to walk the hands forward a little bit to get that space needed for the for sort of this downward dog prep that we're doing. And then maybe readjust the feet. I want you to just walk this down dog for a little bit. Maybe bend both knees, maybe bend one at a time, just whatever feels good. Try and make sure that there is a slight external rotation in the elbows and that the shoulder blades are externally rotating to get that nice space in the upper spine, so more prana can flow, more chi can flow. And then when you're ready, I want you to bend and keep the legs bent. I'd say as much as you feel you need to, but they're going to be bent quite a bit. Then I want you to alternate between looking at your belly button and lifting your head up and looking straight forward towards you. And every time you look towards your belly button, I want you to lift that tailbone even further into the sky. Really, really lift that and try and get a lot of length in the back when you look down. And then look up. Make sure you breathe. Inhale, look up, and exhale, look down. Lifting the tailbone as high as you can, elongating the back. Make sure that the stomach muscles are just nice and engaged as well. Keeping those elbows externally rotated as well. Okay, when you're ready, when you next come to look up, come forward a little bit, and I want you to come down onto your knees. Don't move the hands. And then lean forward, bending the elbows, very slowly and controlled. Pop your chin on the mat and slide forward into a cobra. Now, your shoulders will need to be sort of opening up, so your shoulder blades are basically trying to kiss each other at the back. That's a nice way of putting it. To make sure your hands are nice and grounded, and I don't want you to have a massive amount of space in between your legs either. A lot of people I see doing either cobra or downward dog kind of have their legs like kind of mat width apart, and I would suggest or recommend having them more hip width apart. It is a little bit more, so it's a bit more tricky. It requires a bit more engagement and a little bit more thought as well, because when the legs are apart there is a bit more space there. But if you get into a good habit early, then you don't have to reverse it. And then to make sure, as we were doing before, the tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. There should be, I know we've been in this pose a little while now, there should be some engagement in the lower back. So we're going to bend the elbows, very slowly and controlled, peel the stomach onto the mat, and then the chest. And now, I actually want you to put your chin on the mat. I'm just going to keep mine off because it'll mess with the microphone, but pop your chin on the mat and come to take your hands maybe an inch or two back, and then using your back muscles and your hands, I want you to push the ground away from you as well as engaging your back muscles to help you come up. And you might only get as far up as here, or you might be able to get a bit further, or you may be able to get all the way up with straight arms. So some nice deep breaths wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And then when you're ready, bend the elbows. Again, it's just about slow, controlled movement down. Now, I'm going to be popping the hands back where they were. And this time, instead of a cobra, we're going to be trying to actually lift the thighs off the ground as well. So you actually might need your hands more below your shoulders, but sort of putting mine near my, sort of below my armpits kind of thing. And then when you come up, you need to come up, and I want you to, almost as if you're doing a push-up, put quite a lot of weight in your hands. Lift. As you can see, my thighs are now off the ground. My back isn't as bent as I was. My head can come back if I feel comfortable to do so. And then when you're ready, you can again place the thighs back down and slowly and controlled come back onto your stomach. Take some nice deep breaths, because these are quite intense asanas. Okay, and then when you're ready again, I want you to come back onto all fours by peeling into the cobra and then lifting. And then actually, sort of, you might have to shuffle forward on your mat a bit. And then come to sit on your knees. Move your hands pretty much as far forward as they'll go. Engage your stomach muscles so it's another completely relaxed asana. I want you to place your head, your forehead on the mat. And let your back just decompress and relax from those down dog cobras, because they are very, very intense asanas. And even if your arms were nowhere near straight, they can still be a bit of a killer. They do require quite a lot of engagement, and the back is because the back is such a important part, and the spine holds so many sort of encodings and secrets in it, really. Speaking quite esoterically, we can start to awaken things that we don't realise that we're awakening, and we just feel it as tension. But we're actually doing some work on our other bodies, not just our physical body. We're working with the astral body and the ethereal body too whilst we do this. Okay, and then when you've spent enough time in child's pose with your head on the ground, I've just lifted mine up so I don't obscure the microphone noise. I want you to then pop your hands to hold your elbows, and then lift your bum off the ground, and then without moving your elbows, come to clasp your hands together, and then lift up out the shoulders, pop your head on the ground in the sort of pocket that you've made for your head. I want you to tuck your toes and then lift up. Now, again, you'll probably have to do some walking out because it's going to be quite tight, and I do not want all of the weight to be in your head. I'd say 90 to 95% of the weight in your forearms. There will be a tiny bit of weight in the head. I just want you to walk this out and really lift out of the shoulders. We draw the shoulders back towards each other, the shoulder blades. Carry on walking back, and this is excellent prep pose for headstand or shushasana, but we won't be doing it in this class, but there will be plenty of tutorials on YouTube. But this is excellent prep work if you haven't done headstand. Okay, and then when you're ready, I want you to bend the knees first and place the knees on the ground, untuck your toes, lift up your head, and come up again to tabletop, and we're going to come into one last downward dog. So tuck the toes, lift up the hips, again like before, push into the ground as you straighten the leg. And this time, just do a little bit of walking out the dog. Just a touch, making sure that the hands are engaged in the mat and the shoulder blades are externally rotating. And if you have to have quite a bit of a distance between your feet and your hands, that is absolutely fine. If your heels are no way near touching the ground, that is absolutely fine too. If you're feeling like it's too difficult for you and you need to come down, that's absolutely fine too. Just to try and push the ground away from you, engage the abdominal muscles, shoulder blades towards, shoulder blades externally rotating, thighs engaged, heels towards the mat, gaze at the belly button and tailbone up. And then whenever you're ready, I want you to look up for me and just very slowly walk the feet towards the hands. No rush, just do it nice and slowly and mindfully. When you come towards the hands, you can then pop the feet together, maybe come into a brief forward fold before you look up with your fingertips on the ground, your neck elongated, spine elongated, looking towards the front of the room. And then when you're ready, on the next inhale, just sweep the hands upwards, and then I'm going to come back down into my forward fold again, fingertips on the ground, looking forward. And this time I'm going to place my hands on the ground, and I'm just going to, one by one, place them very, very gently on the mat to come into the same position as I was when I started, but now facing that way instead of that way. So you turn for you guys. Now, the last thing I just want you to do is just spend a minute here. I want you to close your eyes and pop your hand on your heart, maybe both hands. Take some deep, healing, cleansing breaths. Just say, thank you. Thank you, body. Thank you, heart. Thank you, mind. Thank you, soul. Just feel gratitude for a second for what you have been able to do in this time. It wasn't a particularly long class, but it was quite an intense one. So once you have done this, you might even find a little smile comes on your face, which is good. Let out the sigh. And then at the end of my classes, I like to put my hands in prayer position, and I like to just slightly aim my prayer hands towards myself, close my eyes, very softly bow to myself, because I'm always worshipping this human vessel that I've come in, because it's just so incredible. So just say a little thank you, and of course thank you for everyone that has come to attend this class, anyone who has watched, and just everyone really. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed it, and you can go on my YouTube channel maybe to find any more information or content or classes. But until next time, have a beautiful, beautiful life, and I will see you when I see you. Bye bye.